Disasters continue in the mainland this year, causing corn prices to hit a 4-year high.
Bright Dairy was fined 300,000 yuan by the CCP for an implicit reference to revolution in its advertisement.
Bright Dairy invested heavily in the advertisement, "Please give me light," was fined 300 yuan for damaging the state dignity and interest.
On October 16th, the Erdos police in China put out a fraud notice denouncing the G-series, which is equivalent to free publicity for the G-series. The announcement was later taken down.
Hainan government forces students returning from overseas to wear Cultural Revolution costume for brainwashing.
A large-scale testing was being carried out in Shiling Huadu in Guangzhou. The pandemic is far from being under control.
Virus isolated from a cold chain food packaging from a positive samples of imported frozen cod transported by workers. A live virus was detected. This is the first time that new coronavirus isolated the outer packaging of the cold chain food in the world. Under special conditions, a new coronavirus can survive on the packaging for a long time. People at the risk of infection are mainly cold chain goods workers. No cases of consumer infection due to exposure to contaminated cold chain seafood have been found. The risk of infection among Chinese consumers is extremely low.
Strange visions festered in the lingering days of the CCP regime. October 17th, Jiangsu. This lineup is terrible. Too many, these are all. So many crabs. It's a bit strange. Yes, very.
On October 17, heavy rain in Hainan caused continuous floods. At 6 o'clock, the Hainan provincial government issued a second-level rainstorm warning. At 6:30, the Hainan 3 provincial headquarters launched a level 4 emergency response for flood and wind prevention. Affected by the east jet stream and the cold air, Chungning, Wanning, Chengzhou experienced heavy storms. The torrential rain in some areas. Rainstorm occurred in most townships of Lingshui, Baoning, Sanya, and Wuzhishan. Torrential rain in some areas. 7 towns in Wanning City rainfall exceed 200 millimeters. Fire emergency rescue over 400 trapped people affected by continuous heavy rain over 100 millimeters. There is a serious water accumulations in some sections of Wanning City. The local government organized personnel to village to appease the villagers.
At an elementary school in Liaoning, several students suffered from food poisoning. The health of students in mainland China is in serious jeopardy. At an elementary school at Chaoyang County, Liaoning Province, several students apparently suffered from food poisoning. This footage shows a long line of students at the local hospital, waiting to be examined and treated. According to a staff member of the local propaganda department, many agencies are handling this incident. Several agencies are collaborating to handle this incident. The result of the investigation hasn't been published, but it will be soon.
The CCP sent many cops to crack down on the common people protesting against the forced demolition. There is a demolition in Zhao village. Cops were there to crack down on
the
people.
CCP replayed the struggle sessions fashioned after the Cultural Revolution. This is the CCP's way to brainwash the people and to foment hatred among them.
A propaganda calling on the people to obey the CCP on October 16, 2020 in Changsha City, Hunan Province. Hello to our leaders and the guests. In the beautiful October, we welcome the 2020 Changsha International Rice Crop Development Forum here. On behalf of the Forum Committee, I extend my warm welcome to the opening of the forum. I shall express my gratitude to the experts and the colleagues from around the world.
A massive protest erupted in Bangkok, Thailand, calling to reform the constitutional monarchy. Even after Twitter officially apologized for censoring free speech, it continued to block articles by the New York Post. The CCP threatened Canada over the matter of Hong Kong. This sparked a heated discussion in Canada. The PLA's military aircraft kept harassing Taiwan, adding tension to the Taiwan Straits.
The man coughing is Xi Jinping, the president of China, the country that exported the Wuhan virus pandemic. President Xi was delivering a speech in China and he coughed a lot. What I'm about to show you are clips sliced from a 50-minute-long address of the Chinese president. Social media has analyzed this in great detail. Even though Chinese cameras tried to hide the president, they caught at least 4 bouts of cough in a matter of minutes. Take a look.
Which means we cannot master solid skills and voluntarily plan and
What you just saw is footage from a ceremony in Shenzhen.
A museum in France recently got a taste of this. The Nantes History Museum was slated to stage a Genghis Khan exhibit next year. The Inner Mongolia Museum was roped in to help. It was smooth sailing for a while before the Chinese government got directly involved. Beijing sent a list of demands, some of them outrightly bizarre. China asked the museum to not use the words Genghis Khan in the exhibit. Yes, you heard that right. A Genghis Khan exhibit that does not mention the words Genghis Khan. China also wanted the words Empire and Mongols to be dropped. The idea was to strip the exhibition of its identity, but the organizers were having none of it. They cancelled the event and made sure everyone knew who was to blame. China was trying to rewrite Mongol history and culture. The Nantes Museum episode has taught the world community a crucial lesson. Chinese censorship is not all-encompassing. If a museum can stand up to Chinese interference, why can't world powers?
A Hong Kong protester dubbed Grandma Wong has spoken out against her treatment by Chinese authorities, accusing them of stopping her from returning home for over a year. 64-year-old Alexandra Wong said on Saturday she suffered mental abuse after being kept in custody for over a month across the border in Shenzhen. Activists and human rights groups had expressed concern about her whereabouts.
I am afraid I will be stopped to come back Hong Kong. Every second I frightened. I scare every day. I scare to hear the phone call.
Speaking publicly for the first time since her release, Wong said she had been placed in a detention centre by Chinese police when she tried to return to her home, and also faced regular visits by national security advisors.
This deals really with Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, and it decides, are they platform or are they publisher? They've been given rights as a publisher or as a platform, but they're acting like a publisher. They're selecting what viewers can and can't see, and we really want them to update their user agreement or else they lose those protections.
What type of an update would you be looking for? I mean, the reason that protection is in place, as far as I understand it, is to, to keep out or to keep off the platforms kind of indecent material of some sort. And, Twitter or Facebook could decide what that is. Now, it's getting attention, as Edward just reported the last few days, because of this New York Post story, which, conservatives like yourself have said, no, wait a second, that's not indecent, that's political censorship. So where is the line, or is there one? What would you like to see happen?
We can certainly update that, but what we're seeing is they're specifically targeting conservatives, and it's been unfair for too long. And we need to make sure that stories like this, that the American people need to know about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and the corruption with the Ukraine and perhaps China, need to come out. They can't censor this. You want to make sure that it's fair for all involved. And it shouldn't be about politics, but if they truly are a platform and not a publisher, then they need to let all voices have a share.
People in the United States now know the Chinese Communist Party is an existential threat to humanity. They're guilty of genocide. Over 1 million innocent people throughout this world have died because of their virus, right? Died because of their virus that came from the P4 lab in Wuhan. Whether it was a gain-of-function experiment gone awry that leaked out or part of a biological weapons program is kind of beside the point. That's for their other guilt. We know that they made this. We know that they exacerbated its travel throughout the world. And what has Joe Biden done? Because he's owned by the Chinese Communist Party. When President Trump shuts down travel, what does Biden do? He sits there and takes the Beijing line. Trump's a racist. Trump's a nativist. Come on, man. They're not a competitor. Mayor Giuliani, I'm sorry going on my diatribe, but I want to go to you. You're the expert. You put Milken away. You put Wall Street away. You put the five families and broke the mafias of RICO. What is the RICO investigation that we're running right now on the Biden crime family?
Of it, okay? First of all, you gotta pay attention to the title point man. He's appointed point man 4 times. Every time he's appointed point man, the U.S. loses and the Biden family makes millions. So watch it. This is the Biden crime family, at least a brief synopsis of it. So he's appointed point man in Iraq. He goes to Iraq, and he's supposed to negotiate a status of forces agreement so that we can remain in Iraq to protect our interests there. Of course, Joe, as he always does, fails in the negotiations miserably. But his brother somehow becomes a partner in a $1.5 billion housing deal. He knows nothing about housing, just like Hunter knows nothing about energy. But somehow he becomes a 1/3 partner in a $1.5 billion housing deal. That's Iraq. Ukraine, we've already talked about. He's the bag man. Hunter is the bag man. He's collecting Joe's bribe, which is somewhere between $12 and $20 million. Let's be conservative, $12 million. Some of it, the $2 million a year the firm got, some of it a laundered payment of $3.2 million that we have the document for, that went through Cyprus and Latvia. It didn't come from Russia. It came from Latvia and Cyprus. None of this came from Russia, not a single thing. And then we move on to Russia, where he got the $3.5 to $4 million from the widow of the mayor of Russia, who is a very close associate of Vladimir Putin. So all that Democratic talk about how Trump and Putin are very close, Trump never got any money from Putin. Biden did. I mean, it's ridiculous, Steve. They charge you or me or Trump with what they do, and they get the corrupt press to buy it. And the final coup de grace. I mean, the big money comes from China. We've only begun with China, and we've done 2 transactions that we've gone through in detail. One of them is a private equity firm in which China is a partner, a 1/4 partner. Who are the partners? Hunter Biden, the stepson of John Kerry, the then Secretary of State, and Whitey Bulger's nephew, James Bulger. I mean, you can't believe that, right? I mean, that's totally ridiculous. Also, you can't believe that could happen while Biden was negotiating for the United States, being criticized for being so weak. Again, America loses. He was supposed to get him out of the islands they were disputing with Japan. Instead, China reinforces the military there, raises tariffs. Joe miserably fails on his trip to China, but he brought his son along with him, the drug-addicted Hunter. And Hunter won. Even though he's drug-addicted, he got a letter about 6 days later committing $1 billion to a virtually useless private equity firm. You know from your days in finance, Steve, getting a $1 billion commitment? I mean, that's extraordinary. For a fund without a history? Impossible. And then China puts another $5 billion in. So while Joe is negotiating for the U.S. and for Japan on a highly sensitive national security matter, his son has become a partner with the government of China. So that's what I mean by America loses, the Biden family wins. And by the way, when I say his son was a partner, no. Joe Biden was a partner, because one of the texts that we have, and this is the one that I probably think is really the nail in the coffin. This is the one that makes the obvious provable. The obvious is this money's going to Joe Biden. Nobody is paying a drug addict $30 million. No Ukrainian oligarch, who's considered to be one of the most dangerous and crooked men in Ukraine, is paying useless money to a drug addict. I'm going to show you two pictures, which are two of many.
Mayor, hang on 1 second. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we're going to turn.
Okay.
We'll let you go through all of it. Okay. Hashtag War and Pandemic. The live stream. It's on fire this morning. This is the CCP's ownership of Joe Biden, the Biden corruption scandal, and what Joe Biden did in looking the other way and going soft on the Chinese Communist Party when he was in charge of the pivot to Asia. We're going to return in a moment. Hashtag War and Pandemic, the live stream. We've got Jack Maxey. Eventually, in the next hour, we've got Jack Posobiec. We've got Dr. Bradley Thayer. We have Jana Bianco from the American Bond Foundation. We're spending the entire 2 hours on Joe Biden's ownership by the Chinese Communist Party. We will return with Mayor Rudy Giuliani in a moment.
So our whistleblower movement, we use our lives and true emotions. Our principles are, you must remember, my friends, only the truth is invincible. Only the truth is invincible. The red lines of law and morals must not be touched. So when I'm here reading and telling you about this, the song came from our hearts. It was not made to entertain others. Our songs are records of how we have, through our blood and lives, created a never-before-seen miracle. The USA, being such a big republic, does not dare to directly challenge the CCP. The CCP has killed over 200,000 Americans. Millions were infected. Yet almost no one is calling the virus CCP-Virus. Tens of millions in the world have been infected with this virus. Millions have died. None dare to stand up and challenge the CCP. Only people like us, the whistleblower movement, who believe only the truth is invincible and are selfless and fearless.
U.S. reports over 69,000 new COVID-19 cases, the most in a single day since July. Movie theaters in New York outside NYC can reopen with limits October 23rd. The number of new coronavirus infections in the EU and the UK has now overtaken the United States. The surge in cases comes as infectious disease, experts warn the US, could face a substantial third wave of infections this winter. Iran announces its virus death toll passes 30,000 killed. The coronavirus is now widely circulating through many of America's more rural communities, threatening their hospital capacities. Amazon Prime Day sales surged 45% to over $10 billion. Boeing shares soared Friday after the European Union's top aviation regulator cleared the 737 MAX jet to return to the skies as soon as this year.
Dear mama, are you okay over there? Your son is crying and missing you. It sees you in his dreams. You sent Jake down to CCP, cause it's God's will. It's God's will. So I'll wait for you, and I'll see you when we end the CCP. Yeah. So